Greetings, this is Doc Akh coming at you live and direct from Black Facts Headquarters Central with another installment of Doc Akh at noon and 9. Let's see what we got up for y'all tonight. Right after you finish going ahead and subscribing to the Tubular Black Facts channel. Now, if you just happen to already have done that, well, go ahead and get jiggy with it. Drop us a donation. You can do it right now like it was your vocation. You can do it on Facebook. You can do it on YouTube. You can even go to our website, www.blakfacts.org. Go right on over there. You'll find me there, and you'll find a link to our donation page. In the meantime, let me go ahead and read a poem from the book Voice of Freedom, Fannie Lou Hamer. See what she has to tell us tonight. All right, tonight she's going to tell us about snick. Now, just what exactly is a snick? Is that some kind of critter that comes out the woods? Does it fly? Does it run? Or does it swim beneath the ocean? Well, we shall see. SNCC, otherwise known as SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Those young folks were something else. Most belonged to SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. What was called SNCC for its initials. The college kids saw me for a leader. I made it plain why I joined the movement. All my life, I've been sick and tired. I toured the South with words and from my heart and spirituals I learned at my mother's knee. I fired up many a rally, starting out by letting everyone know all my life I've been sick and tired, and now I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And instead, what I want to do right now is to let this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. But I wasn't singing for show. I wasn't singing for money. What I was doing was really not funny. I was singing for freedom. Leadership came natural to me as singing does to a bird or a bee. People took to calling me the spirit of the civil rights movement. Fannie Lou Hamer, a poem all about her. Matter of fact, a whole book of poems all about her. Kids talk about the civil rights movement with the people who made it happen. From the book, Oh Freedom, let's see what stories we have to tell tonight. I know we got something in here that's going to be nice, and I might even have to tell it twice, although it looks like I lost my bookmark. It was in here, but it looks as though it's started to disappear. So let's see what I find here. Okay, we read this one here, so we're going to go right over here. Bernard Keith Jarvis with James Farmer. Bernard. This is Bernard Jarvis interviewing James Farmer. Mr. Farmer, when did you first decide to do something about civil rights? When did you take the civil rights plunge, so to speak? James, I grew up in the South, and it was in Mississippi when I was 3.5 years old that I became acquainted with the evils of segregation. I discovered this in a town called Holly Springs. I could not buy a Coca-Cola in a drugstore downtown, even though a little white boy could. Now, at 3 years old, I wondered why couldn't I buy a Coke just like the little white boy? Didn't make sense to me. And this hurt me badly. I went home, holding my mother's fingers as we walked. When we got home, she cried, and I sat on the porch steps thinking someday my children will be able to buy a Coca-Cola in Holly Springs, Mississippi. I'm going to do something about it. Bernard, is that why you organized the Freedom Rides? James, well, you see, in 1961 at CORE, we knew that to get the support of the country behind us to end segregation, we had to have some kind of dramatic project to attract the attention of the press, radio, and especially television. Your generation has grown up with TV, but it was not common in this country until the mid-1950s. But it was television, you see, that brought our message to people all over the United States and indeed the world. Bernard, can you explain about the Freedom Rides? James, the plan was to have interracial groups riding Greyhound and Trailways buses with the blacks in front and the whites in back, and both of them refusing to move. At every bus terminal, the whites would go into the waiting room marked for coloreds, and the black folks would go into the white waiting room. Now, you know, that caused a little bit of consternation down there in some of them southern towns. They hadn't seen nothing like this before. They would behave nonviolently no matter what happened to them. We started in Washington, D.C. on May 4, 1961, and we hope to arrive in New Orleans on May 17th, the anniversary of the Brown decision. Well, we didn't reach New Orleans then. A bus was burned to the ground in Anniston, Alabama. Bernard, so it wasn't a nonviolent protest. James, the Freedom Riders remained nonviolent, but they were beaten severely by angry white mobs. One 62-year-old Freedom Rider named Walter Bergman was so badly beaten that he had a stroke, and he's been in a wheelchair for 33 years. Another one, Jim Peck, was left unconscious, lying in a pool of his own blood in the alley outside of the bus terminal. He had to get more than 50 stitches in his head. Bernard, didn't that stop you? Nah, not at all. Students from SNCC in Nashville, Tennessee joined the Freedom Ride, and CORE students came up from New Orleans. I rode with them, and we were arrested in Jackson, Mississippi. I made the decision we would fill up the jails. If Mississippi had jail cells, we had the bodies to fill them. We stayed in jail 40 days and 40 nights. And all the while, new Freedom Riders were coming in every day talking about this little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Oh yeah, they sang in the jails. Bernard, did you ever have a fear of dying in the civil rights movement? James, oh yes. During much of the early 60s, I received threatening phone calls. Though I was living in New York, then not in the Deep South, they called my home, threatening my life, my wife, and my 2 daughters. Were you ever threatened by the KKK? Just about every day. In fact, I was shot at by the Klan, the Ku Klux Klan in Bogalusa, Louisiana, in Plaquemine, Louisiana. I had to escape from a lynch mob. That's a mob that's out to kill people, usually by hanging them. Most of us who were in a position of leadership knew that death might lurk around any corner. Bernard, do you think we'll ever be able to eliminate racism from this society? James, I think so. Racism is the idea that skin color, hair texture, physical features, and so on has something to do with intelligence, character, and morality. We know that's not true, yet people believe it. That prejudice, that belief that some races are superior and others are inferior is racism. It is not innate. People are not born with it. Babies and small children don't have it. They develop it when it is taught to them by parents or by playmates in school. If it is a learned reaction, and I think it is, then it can be unlearned. We can stop teaching it to our children. If we stop teaching it, then racism will die a natural, tragic death. Bernard, thank you very much, Mr. Farmer, for your inspirational words. Now, the only thing I want to say right there now is that what he described there, they're not liking somebody because of the way they look, they talk, they act, etc. That is not racism. That's called prejudice. Racism is when you have the power to affect someone's life in a significant way. That's racism. That's like when you change their name without their permission, when you take away their employment, make sure they can't get a job anywhere at any time from anybody. When you keep somebody from gaining an education, all those things are examples of things that exhibit racism. Racism is not, I don't like you because you don't look right. That's not racism. That's prejudice. That's just a feeling somebody has about somebody else. They might not even be able to explain why, but they just don't like them. But that's still not that does not make it racist. That just makes it prejudice, and everybody is prejudiced. I don't like ugly folks. Now, when I say ugly, understand what I mean. God don't like no ugly, and neither do I. And the ugly I don't like is when you're ugly on the inside, not necessarily the outside. In other words, when you come at me with an ugly attitude, yeah, I'm prejudiced. I don't like that. You need to come at me with a good attitude. I'll react to that much differently if you come with a good attitude than a bad one. And so we should really distinguish between racism and prejudice. Prejudice and racism. If they were the same thing, if they are the same thing, then why they got two different words in the dictionary form? Why don't they just break it down, take one word out, and use that one for everything? Now, think about that. And in the meanwhile, I'm going to take off my thinking hat and put on my nighttime cap and get ready to go to bed, just like all you sleepyheads need to do out there. So it's time for all you little children to lay your little heads down on your little pillow, on your little bed. And when you feel those sunbeams beaming down on your eyes, you'll know that it's time for you to rise and shine, oh children of mine. And in the meantime, all you adults out there, like Fetty Red and anybody else who's out there, please go ahead, give us a wave, give us a wiggle, give us a little tickle if you will. Just let us know that you're out there, because that would really give us a thrill and help us remain real chill while we continue to deliver this, what can be. We want to keep delivering this information, but at times it can be a bitter pill. A bitter pill. But you'll feel better in the morning. Peace out without a doubt, with plenty of justice, because anything less disgusts us. You know we don't like being disgusted.